Your faith in your healing has weakened, or he has completely destroyed it. He said, you'll never heal from this disease, and so on. Look, you went to see some consultant. Do you know what it means to receive something? It means more inspiration, more strength, more faith, and more opportunities to change something in life. That means you received good advice. You don't even necessarily need to analyze what was said to you. Just feel your heart. If everything collapses inside of you and you don't know how to live on, that means you were deceived. You didn't receive knowledge from that person. You received destruction of your psyche. Don't go to that person anymore.
Can I ask a question? She said from the chart that there's a chance of getting married.
A chance of getting married, right? You see, she told her, you have a chance to get married. Why a chance?
There's a chance according to the planets.
My dear, why did you humiliate yourself in front of this astrologer? What chance? Does this astrologer decide whether you get married or not? You will definitely get married. What does she mean, a chance? In a year and a half, you'll already be married.
I believe you. Thank you.
Don't listen to these fools who don't know what fate is. They just scare you, take away your hope, take away your strength, and take your money for it. Don't listen to these people. Truly, the person who feels how fate works inspires others. They don't take away their strength. Let's just theoretically analyze this question. What does it mean to feel someone's fate? The first thing you need to know is that a person cannot feel someone else's fate. This knowledge is given by God from the heart. How can God give this knowledge from the heart? He only gives knowledge about someone else's fate to those who can help that person. You understand? If God gives knowledge in the heart about what will happen, it means that God trusts you. But how can you trust a person who is already set to scare you or take away your faith? He is not in the right mindset. This means he will never see fate. Let me give you an example. Suppose some fortune teller says, I see that there will be a war at such and such time. You see, when God gives knowledge to a person about what will happen, he also gives them the recipe for how to deal with it. But if a fortune teller only scares people, talking only about bad things to come, it means they have no knowledge about what will happen. Because truly, the one who has knowledge about what will happen is the one who has the ability to overcome it in their heart. And a person also has the right to speak about the future only when they offer a solution. For example, if I told a woman something, I must also tell her what to do to prevent it from happening. Otherwise, telling it is pointless because you're setting the person up for something bad, which means you're condemning them. A person who is set up for something bad is doomed. Now imagine I'm telling you practical things. Suppose a woman has complicated relationships with her husband. She goes to an astrologer and he tells her, you'll have 2 marriages. But she's in her first marriage. What happens next? She leaves her husband thinking, what's the point of staying if I'll have 2 marriages? And what will happen to this astrologer? God will severely punish him for this, because he ruined this person's life. So, my dear ones, it's better not to engage in these practices like astrology and others if you don't understand the principle. Your task is to inspire the person, to give them the strength to live. There is no other task. To make them afraid, they can be afraid without you. Fate scares everyone. My dear ones, if you start shouting, I definitely won't ask you anything. The man in gray you can ask.
Hello. Thank you. I have a situation. My wife is afraid to give birth. What should I do?
Is your wife sitting next to you?
No. She's at home. She listens to your lectures. She listens to what you say about this, but nothing helps. She's afraid that her body will wear out, her hair will fall out, and so on.
Imagine, for instance, that you are a woman, and in a past life you died during childbirth. You are giving birth, and you die. In your next life, will you be afraid to give birth or not?
Probably yes.
What does probably mean? Look, for example, if you're afraid of enclosed spaces, it means you died in a confined space in a past life. If you're afraid of heights, it means you died from heights. Whatever a person is afraid of, it means it happened to them in the past. So all these fears point to a reality that no longer exists, but it remains in memory. You understand? Maybe this happened 20, 25 years ago. Imagine, a person dies because she is giving birth. Of course, she will be afraid, definitely.
Is there a way to make her not afraid?
There is one way for you to understand that what's speaking to you now is your fate, not your wife. And there is only one way to resolve issues with fate, which I've already mentioned 100 times in the lectures. Accept it kindly first. Because right now in your heart there is no kindness. You are rebelling against your fate, and this means you're making it worse. You need to be kind to it, treat your wife kindly, and calm her down. When she believes you, feels protection from you, then she will agree to conceive a child. It is currently an unfavorable time to conceive. Right now is not the right time. In about 6 months, it will be fine. You need to communicate with her kindly. Tell her what I told you. And in general, understand that this is your fate. According to your fate, this situation is meant to happen. When a person faces fate, there are different ways to react. One can start getting angry, yelling at fate. That would be the most wrong way. At that point, there's no chance of resolving the issue. But if you treat your wife kindly, she will gradually calm down and agree. I don't see that you will be childless, I don't sense that. But there are difficulties with having a child, specifically the first one. After that, it will be less difficult. You need to treat her kindly so that she gradually agrees. This is the only way. But what you are doing now and what you did 4 days ago is terrible. It's wrong. You're destroying your life in this way. If you destroy your family over this, it will only get worse. You think you're solving the problem this way, but you will be punished and it will get even worse. So just try to be kind and don't listen to relatives on this matter. All right? Better listen to me. Do as I told you. Everything will work out. About 6-7 months from now, she will have a good period, but only if she feels your kindness. Lady in white, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Dr. Torsunov. Thank you for your lectures, for your love for us. We are happy to see you in Kiev. Please visit us more often. Dr. Torsunov, I have a question about my health. 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with autoimmune thyroiditis, problems with the thyroid gland. I've been on hormones for 5 years, taking hormone replacement therapy. The tests have improved, my condition too. My hair stopped falling out.
That's good. You need prolonged continuous movement, switch to proper nutrition, listen to my lectures on nutrition. What about the thyroid? It just froze, so you have hypodynamics in your body. You lack energy to live. When you walk for 3 hours, 20 minutes once every 5 days, when you learn to walk like this, your thyroid will fully recover. But regarding hormones, I don't really know because they interfere with its recovery now. But in any case, life will begin there.
So 3 hours once a week, right?
You won't be able to do 3 hours once a week now. You can walk for 1 hour and 20 minutes at most, continuously. You just need to gradually move towards this.
Thank you very much.
My dears, if you have health questions, please ask my assistant. I simply can't give personal consultations here. General questions are for everyone to learn from. So I won't answer health questions anymore, only life-related questions. Well, you can ask.
Thank you so much for your lectures.
Sit down, calm down.
A year ago, my daughter's husband left her. She has panic attacks. He couldn't handle it. He left the family.
Did he leave you?
No. He left my daughter. We've been fighting these panic attacks for 5 years. We've tried all psychotropic medications. We've seen all the doctors.
Start the same as I said. Prolonged, continuous movement, still body position. Listen to my lectures. I explain there how tension accumulates in a person's psyche, that it's simply energy of tension. If it accumulates very deeply in the psyche, this tension leads to mental disorders. So 3 hours and 20 minutes of walking continuously, this is the maximum. And starting from 2 hours and 40 minutes up to 3 hours and 20 minutes, the psyche heals. If a person starts walking like this for long periods, plus a still body position, especially standing near a tree for up to 1 hour and 5 minutes continuously and motionlessly, then these two healing practices relax the psyche. She can apply seeds on her ear, like I have seeds on my ear. We treat the psyche of many people if they live correctly. You see, the main problem of all people on earth is contact with the energy of time. The energy of time ages everyone, every person. To avoid aging, you need to practice asceticism. There are 2 types of aging. There is gradual aging. It leads to leaving life around 90 years old. And basically, no one minds that. Everyone agrees with passing away like this. There is cyclical aging. Cyclical aging is what destroys life. So cyclical aging is energy that arises from a bad period in life. For example, a difficult period in life leads to tension in the body. Young lady, do you have tension in your body right now? Yes? No? Do you feel weak? Yes. That's the tension. It is overcome with prolonged, continuous movement. So your blockage is not that deep. You need to move for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. You need to learn to walk once every 4 days, and it will relax you. You understand? So this tension came because a bad period started. For example, 2 months ago there was no such tension, but now there is, and in a month it will end. I'm telling her this so you can have an example. For your daughter, this period is more intense. It started about 1.5 years ago and will last for another 2 years approximately. It has a stronger influence on fate. It's a strong period, hence the strong tension. But you see, it's just the action of time. Time ages everyone, and there are these cycles when a person is strongly stressed. And in this cycle, chronic diseases arise if a person doesn't cope. Often people don't even realize what to do. There are 3 types of aging in a person. The first type of aging is called tension. It is defeated with prolonged continuous movement and a still body position. The second type of aging is excess weight. First, excess weight, then benign tumors, then malignant tumors. This is defeated with prolonged continuous movement and water fasting. The third type of aging is heat in the body. Heat in the body means first heat, then inflammatory diseases, then diabetes, bronchial asthma, eczema, allergies, autoimmune diseases. All of this is heat in the body, excess heat in the body. It is defeated with a still body position and water fasting. What do these practices give? They literally push this energy out of the body. If a person fasts on water, the first reaction is that they start freezing, meaning they cool down. They cool themselves with the water. The same goes for the still body position. It cools you down. And prolonged continuous movement, on the contrary, warms you up. So cold plus heat, like a sauna, a deeper one, this relaxes a person. Do you understand? Sauna relaxes. Likewise, long movement plus still body position. The result is relaxation. You see, there are 5 subtle energy layers in a person, each deeper than the other. They are stacked one after the other. For example, to reach the 4th layer, you need to walk for 3 hours and 20 minutes. This is the psyche. The 3rd layer is connected with the internal organs. The thyroid is there, for instance. It takes about 3 hours, roughly, and 40 minutes for each layer. So the vessels, ligaments, muscles, this requires even less time, about 2 hours and 20 minutes. You understand? So prolonged continuous movement gradually purifies the body more deeply. This is the treatment I'm talking about. When you receive energy from nature through these methods, then it's possible to redistribute this energy with herbs, acupuncture, acupressure, or medicines to make it flow to the right places more quickly and strongly. That's all, but your daughter doesn't even need to redistribute anything. She just needs to perform these practices, and she will heal. If you want to redistribute, we can put seeds in her ears. The energy she generates will go where it's needed. We have a lot of children with autism, cerebral palsy, speech disorders, women with infertility, men healing. They achieve their goals quickly if they live the right way. Their bodies start to function normally, conception happens, children recover. That's because they are living correctly.
Can I ask a small question? I had the same deep depression at that time. I got out of it after about 5 years. Is she repeating my fate?
You are to blame for everything. Yes, you. You need to cry, suffer more, because you are responsible for her life. That's nonsense. What you are thinking right now is nonsense, because she has her own life and she earned it with her actions in the past life. And you just resemble her, or rather, she resembles you. That's why she was born to you. You have similar fates. You didn't pass your fate to her. That's something a fortune teller would say to make money off you. The truth is, she has her own fate. If you want to help her, stop whining, stop worrying, stop being anxious. Start praying. Begin becoming a joyful person. Accept your fate, overcome it, and then it will become easier for her. You can really help her. But before helping another person, you must first achieve peace in your heart about them through prayer, because there are 3 stages of helping. First, you pray and calm down. You calm down simply regarding the person. That is the first stage. The second stage is called between me and you. In the second stage, you can say something to the person and they start doing it, meaning you build a relationship. The third stage is changes in a person's heart. But if you haven't calmed down, if you haven't become joyful yourself, and you're worried about a person, it means you are draining them. Your anxiety makes a person worse, not better. Well done, you understand everything. My dears, you bring me a gift and say afterward that you want a consultation. I ask you to better not do that because I definitely don't agree with it. If you want a consultation, come to me like everyone else after the lecture. I simply don't have time. You understand there's a lot of responsibility in life, but if you bring me gifts with the intention of getting a consultation, I feel violated afterward. I'm sorry for saying this, it's honest. So please don't bring me gifts like this. It just makes me uncomfortable. If you want a consultation after the lecture, come to me with your wife. I'll be sitting at the table talking to people. You can say that you brought me some pastille to remind me of you, and I'll give you a consultation. I've already given you your first consultation. When people raise their hands, I look at two factors. The first factor is how seriously a person treats my lectures and how much they follow everything, and the second factor is how hard their life is. Those are the only two factors. I choose those who really need it now and who are really ready to listen to me. While people are gathering, let's talk a little more. Thank you for the candies. We will distribute them.
Hello, Dr. Torsunov. I had 2 marriages and 1 common union. I ruined all my relationships myself. I ended them myself. You said in your lectures that this is wrong, that relationships are karma, and you need to live through it so that the relationship ends on its own. That we shouldn't end relationships ourselves. Tell me, how should I build my life now?
You need to listen to the lectures, work on yourself, strengthen your psyche. The problem is not that you can't build relationships. The problem is that you have a very sensitive psyche, which is not ready for relationships. If you start dating someone again now, you will end a relationship again because you will feel pain and won't be able to bear it. You need to learn to be stronger psychologically. This means accepting people with their flaws, trying to overcome all of that, trying to be stronger. That's the goal, you understand? You need to work on yourself now. Don't think about relationships now. You're not ready for relationships right now. Develop yourself, listen to the lectures, and you will succeed.
Good evening. I have a question. I pray, but what am I doing wrong in my family, which was created just recently, that my husband behaves so aggressively?
There are only 2 reasons for male aggression. The first reason is when a woman behaves submissively and helplessly, she pampers him, and he becomes like a wild beast. The second reason is the opposite behavior. When a woman behaves in a way that doesn't allow the man to exist normally, she's upset by everything. She expresses dissatisfaction over every little thing. Well, when a woman behaves very aggressively towards him, then the man also becomes wild. I don't know any other reasons.
One more question. If my husband spent most of his life in prison, can my prayer, my behavior, my presence help him in any way?
It's already helping. It's just very hard for you right now. You're having a very hard time living right now. And that's why you're asking me this question, because you don't know what to do about it. When fate falls upon a person, they don't know what to do. You need to learn to walk, recharge from nature, pray, wish happiness to everyone, and believe that this will pass. It will pass in about 4 or 5 months, and you'll feel better. As for your husband, you need to pray, and gradually the situation will improve. Right now, you've eased his life by about 7-8%. Keep praying, and you'll ease it even more.
Hello, Dr. Torsunov. In your lecture, you said that one can change their life with a snap of the fingers, but I didn't understand how. I'd like you to tell me.
This happens by grace. The person themselves cannot just explode and change their life with a snap of the fingers. This is impossible. We all have our own resources. But there is a concept of grace. Just as the sun illuminates something and spreads light in an instant, a holy person can also enlighten someone's consciousness in an instant if they believe in him, that is, if they feel the purity of holiness. Therefore, visit temples, go on pilgrimages to holy places, seek holiness in life, seek a representative of God, that is, someone who will illuminate and brighten your fate. What is holiness? It's a force that changes fate simply when a person is nearby. Strength, knowledge, everything appears for the purpose of changing it. That's how it happens in an instant. I want to tell you one thing. There was a time when you didn't want to live, right? Or you were disappointed in life.
There were some disappointments. I have such an optimism that everything will be better later. And it turns out that I sort of postpone my life to the future, and that's the problem. And sometimes I want to change everything in an instant, not wait for something. Because it turns out 10 years have passed and nothing has changed.
Look, everyone has one formula for life. I need to do something with myself to change everything. This formula is wrong. The eternal soul is arranged in a different way. It feeds on the energy of God and gives it away. It doesn't extract strength from within itself. For example, when a child falls ill, the mother worries. What does worrying mean? It means she is giving her strength to the child. As a result, she gets exhausted and doesn't know what to do. This is incorrect thinking. It doesn't work this way. We need to go to a temple, go out into nature. Nature is the energy of God, and we gain strength there. When we go to a temple, we also gain strength. And then when we receive, we simply say, this is for the child. That's enough. This strength is all going to the child. In other words, the core of your problem is that you are living on your own energy. You say, I want to change everything in an instant. This idea is correct. Your thinking is correct, because you can change your entire life in an instant if you stop squeezing victory over fate from yourself and simply focus on God, begin praising Him, and forget about yourself. Focus on nature and just walk through it. Love good people, focus on them, and then your fate will lighten on its own. Everyone who overcomes fate is walking the wrong path. A person should not defeat fate. They must give themselves to others, give their life to others, and then overcoming fate will happen on its own. Because overcoming fate means exhausting your own strength. But if you focus on God, on nature, on good people, you are not giving your own strength away. Much more energy flows through you. Because the soul is more of a conduit than a source. We can work as a source, but we have very little resources. You see, you say, Dr. Torsunov, you helped me. If I tried to help you myself, I would go crazy. Look at how many of you have gathered. I need to remember the seniors in order to help, to remember God. You understand? So something enters me and is given to you. That's the process. It's not mine. And anyone can do this. There is nothing special about it. It's not that a lightning bolt struck me on the head and I gained the gift of healing, as some people say. There is nothing like that. It's just studying. I study how this works correctly and do it according to this science. That's it. And you can do the same. Your problem is that you do everything with your own strength. You need to receive the energy of nature through memory and give it away. Otherwise, you will exhaust yourself. It's unbearable to live the way you live. You try everything with your own strength. You need to take from God, from good people, and then give back.
Does that mean a weakness of faith?
You believe in yourself, in your strength. You have a strong belief in your own strength, but you need to believe in God. These are different types of faith. All right, my dears, I am very happy to see all of you. Thank you for coming to the lecture. Thank you. It's interesting that every day the number of flowers grows more and more. You bring them yourselves. Yesterday we already gave flowers to everyone who came. Everyone who approached yesterday got a rose. It's simply amazing. Probably this is the phenomenon of Kiev. Let's start our discussion. Today's topic is not simple. We will talk about the types of communication that can seriously ruin one's life. How does this happen? Is there such a thing as the evil eye, spoilage, curses, and all these things? Why does it sometimes happen that a person feels as though something happened to them and they can no longer live the way they used to? They might feel like they've been cursed or harmed in some way. I will start explaining these things to you slowly, and we will go through all of it. Is that okay? The first thing you need to know is that there are, in fact, three types of faith. Three types of faith. The first is faith in the mode of degradation. Usually faith in the mode of degradation means that a man just wants to escape reality. He believes that if he forgets everything and simply relieves his tension, his life will be happy. Therefore, he simply wants to forget. In this case, he starts drinking, using drugs, but most often this happens with men. This is the kind of faith in the mode of degradation. Know that during this time, when he consumes alcohol or drugs, he connects his life with evil spirits. There are such evil spirits called mood-lifting spirits. So what do? They give a person happiness in exchange for freedom. To be happy, every person must apply willpower. People generally want to be happy by themselves. This is incorrect thinking. And this concept of happiness is also incorrect. What do we spend most of our lives and energy on? To have enough money, to have an apartment, to have a wife, children, a husband, a peaceful life, and a person says this is happiness. No, this is not happiness, it is simply peace. When you go to sleep, fall asleep, is that happiness or not? Happiness or unhappiness? It's calmness. You ate, relaxed after eating. Is that happiness? It's a peaceful life. So what is happiness then? Happiness is when you make some effort and receive gratitude from fate, from people, from life, and your heart is filled with this specific feeling. This is called happiness. Happiness does not actually depend on the amount of money, the number of apartments, or where you live. It only depends on your austerity. If you practiced asceticism, forced yourself to break free from the shackles of fate, and relief came to your heart, that's happiness. Is calmness needed in life? Yes, but if a person only strives for calmness, they become deeply unhappy. Imagine they spend their whole life just earning a living. That is, they try to focus only on that. This is not life, it is survival, and the very striving for a peaceful life makes a person completely restless. Returning to faith. Faith is something that does something to a person. It somehow changes them. Because there is just life, we have fate, and our psyche interacts with fate. We constantly need the energy of happiness. It is necessary for the work of internal organs, for our interactions with people. We need it for our mood. In other words, the energy of happiness is constantly needed for life. Every second a person needs the energy of happiness. What is faith? There is psyche and there is also intelligence. It is a function that focuses on something. This focus on something can be called a dream or faith. Faith means that you have already had some experience. You prayed and received happiness, or you received your salary and got happiness, or a child was born, you looked at him and received happiness. A person can only believe in what is connected to happiness. Most often people believe in something unconsciously. They believe just because they received happiness. For example, a man falls in love with a woman and he receives happiness from her. He begins to believe in her. This happens unconsciously. Most often people don't form their faith. They simply begin to believe in what gives them happiness. This is incorrect faith. Faith should be formed based on knowledge, not on randomness. So if a man believes in a woman, it means she will leave him. If a mother believes in her child, lives for them, they will grow up spoiled. If a person believes in an apartment, it will ruin them. They will work for it all their life. Faith is something that gives happiness. A person just thinks about the apartment, they will work for all their life, and it becomes easier for them. Faith connects us to the source of happiness. There are 3 types of faith. Surprisingly, the first type of faith does not connect a person with any happiness. For example, a person believes in alcohol even though they would never admit it. If they feel bad or good or something happens, they always put a bottle on the table. Why? Because they believe in it. They need to somehow connect their life with this object of faith. They believe that if they drink, they will become happy. Is this a fact? It's a fact, but this happiness has nothing to do with real happiness. This is not happiness, it's an entry into a certain illusion in which everything seems fine. Real happiness is when everything is really fine, in reality, not in some illusion. And here you've entered the illusion and everything seems fine. When a person is in an illusion, it is called faith in degradation. Faith in degradation leads a person to complete degradation, to the destruction of their life. Remember this is the male type of belief in degradation, but there is also the female type of belief in degradation. It is when a woman believes that someone can destroy her happiness. And this belief is reinforced by various people who have contact with spirits. These are fortune tellers. They have a special gaze. When you come to them, they look at you. You come to them and say, something's wrong, my life is ruined. They say, you've been cursed. And they say, who did it? And it matches. It matches because these are spiritually enlightened people, so to speak, who have contact with spirits. Spirits have one feature. They live in a subtle world. Spirits live in the invisible world. They have the ability to feel subtle connections. For example, a person brings discomfort to someone, and the fortune teller knows that this person brings discomfort. She can see it. She can't see anything good. She can only see bad things. She is connected to spirits. The one who is connected to God sees the good. He tries to help. The one who is connected to spirits sees the bad. And that's why they scare the person. How can you get someone hooked on spirits? You have to scare them. And how can they be scared? When you go to a fortune teller and everything matches. Raise your hand if this happens to you. She told you something and it all matched. When a person goes to a fortune teller and everything matches, what thought arises in their mind? Because of this person, my whole life is ruined. What does this mean? It means that some person is sitting with nothing to do and thinks, I need to curse this person. Everything was fine. Then a certain person appeared, and they got a little worked up and cursed someone. Is that normal? What kind of God's creation is this then? What's happening here? Some kind of confusion. My dears, understand what I just said is complete nonsense. But this nonsense has a unique phenomenon. The unique phenomenon is called faith in degradation, primarily feminine. If you believe that fortune teller who told you that you've been cursed, then that very belief that this person is bringing problems invites an evil spirit, and it starts creating problems. There were already problems with the person that the fortune teller pointed out. Now you begin to believe in these problems. What does this mean? It means that you believe that this person will ruin your life. If you believe this, what happens next? Through the evil spirit that entered your relationship, your life gets destroyed, and real events happen. which indicates that this person is destroying your life. These events happen only because you believe in it, because if you shift your focus, it will all simply end. This connection happens because you believe that someone can harm you. When a girl walks down the street and thinks, "I'm afraid I'll be raped," what is she doing? She's creating negative connections. There is a girl and there is someone who wants to rape someone. The only thing missing between them is an evil spirit that enters her heart and his and tells him that girl wants to be raped. Why does she want it? Because she fears it. There is a tension with a negative sign and with a positive one, and they are the same. If you are afraid of spirits, you attract them to yourself. Or if you hate them, you attract them too. The only way out is to think about God, not about spirits. So all these evil eyes, curses, spells, and hexes, they are all just your belief. If you don't believe in them, then no one can do anything to you. Why hasn't anything happened to me so far? I've been criticizing these fortune tellers for 20 years. They could have gathered all together, but nothing is happening. Why is nothing happening? Because I don't believe in fortune tellers. All right, let me give you an example. There is a type of martial art, a contactless fight. A contactless fight means a fight based on subtle energies. Know that this is approximately the same. Suppose there is a master of contactless fighting. Under what conditions can he succeed in contactless combat? If he can scare a person, the first option. The second option, if the person believes in him. Imagine, there is a master of contactless fighting and there are students. And these students really spar with him in groups, and he really knocks them down with just a light motion of his hand. To put it simply, it really happens just like that. Now imagine this master of contactless fighting meets an ordinary MMA fighter, for example. I've seen how this happens, and this MMA fighter knocks him down with one punch to the face, and that's the end of it. Then the master tells his students, "I was just unlucky. I wasn't in good form at that time." Or, "I was cursed." It's funny, right? It's all just based on belief. But when the real fight starts, you're not going to convince your opponent to believe that you can beat him in a contactless way. It's even funny to think about. Or hypnosis, for example, it's the same. If a person believes in the process, they succumb to it. If they don't believe, they don't succumb. It's impossible to hypnotize someone who believes it's impossible. By the way, speaking of hypnosis, it's a very dangerous thing, because when you're being hypnotized, you enter into a contact with the hypnotist. His will becomes the foundation for manipulating subtle processes in your psyche. But later, when he stops hypnotizing you, the method of interaction through the subtle space remains. In other words, you acquire a way of existing that isn't very favorable for you. Because in this way of existence, you unexpectedly become subordinate to someone else's will, and this method is definitely used by evil spirits. For example, I have seen many situations like this. A person was hypnotized for some good reasons. They were trying to do something good for them. The contact with the hypnotist ended. But then this person comes to me and says, "This hypnotist is still working with me." I asked the hypnotist, "Are you working with him?" He said, "No, I haven't worked with him for a long time." What happened? An evil spirit took on the form of the hypnotist, appears before this person and says, "Let's continue the session." Can the person distinguish the evil spirit from the hypnotist? No. This is again the belief in degradation. You see, belief in degradation means you don't believe in God, you believe in the hypnotist. It's roughly the same. I'm just showing you different pictures of belief in degradation. It's the belief in hypnosis, the belief that someone can curse you, spoil you, or that you've already been cursed and spoiled. It's not a fantasy. You ask, Dr. Torsunov, does this really happen? Of course it really happens because you believe in it, meaning a contact occurs. People go crazy. This is real, isn't it? You can't go crazy if you believe in God. Because no spirit can enter a person if they believe in God. For the spirit, it's like trying to enter a burning stove, because the energy inside a person who believes in God is completely different. So a good way to expel spirits is to be around someone who prays. When they start entering the psychic space of someone with a spirit inside them, the spirit can't handle it and runs away because it becomes too hot. A few times in my life I had to talk to these spirits. One time an evil spirit entered a girl. In this case, the soul and psyche are pressed to the heart and the evil spirit takes over the head. She looked at me as if she were a girl, but actually the evil spirit was looking at me. I spoke to it. I said, "Listen, go away. Why are you not letting this girl live?" And it responded in a man's voice, "None of your business." I said, "Why is it not my business? It's not your business here." So I began speaking with it. Then I threatened that I would pray and still throw it out. I couldn't resolve anything kindly because it had taken over her consciousness. Now it somehow needs to maintain its hold. It even complained to me that it was tired of living with pigs, but here it had met a normal person. Anyway, they have their own life. My dears, try to understand one thing. If you go to a fortune teller, you are destroying your life. You don't even need to talk to them. Some astrologers behave like fortune tellers and bind you to those evil spirits, nightmares. For example, you go to an astrologer and they say, "You have a cross of loneliness." What cross of loneliness? All kinds of fate can be overcome. You see, in fate there are no crosses, no locks, no shutters. Fate is simply a volume of work. What is fate? It can be compared to a kitchen. Let's say the kitchen is dirty. Is it the cross of dirt on you, or what? No, it's just a volume of work. You go and wash it, and the kitchen becomes clean. That's how fate is. You just have to clean it, work with it, and it decreases. Sometimes fate is tough, sometimes it's light, sometimes it's very tough. But it's still not a cross. You can work with it. If you don't manage it in this life, you'll manage it in the next. You can also manage it in just one life. It all depends on how much you work. You understand? You can even overcome the heaviest fate. Fate is felt in the heart as a volume of work. You feel that there is some burden that is preventing you from living. That is fate. People often get scared of this burden and don't know what to do with it. I will explain to you what to do with it. There are 3 types of healing practices. Prolonged continuous movement gives a person the will to work on fate, the willpower factor. Stationary body position gives a person patience, and water fasting gives enlightenment of the mind. Prayer softens fate, melts it, and introduces God's mercy into the heart. Good deeds change it. Let me compare it to a road. Let's say the road goes uphill, but if you pray, it becomes less steep. So prayer softens fate, reduces that ascent. Healing practices give the opportunity to walk stronger, to walk better. Prolonged continuous movement, stationary body position, fasting strengthen you, and you can move higher on fate. But healing practice itself does not reduce fate. Good deeds provide support. So before you were walking alone, but now a whole group of people is pushing you along, making it easier to walk with someone. When you perform good deeds, you connect yourself with good people, and thus you overcome fate. When a person prays alone, they may lack strength to overcome fate, and it won't be enough because prayer has a concept called amplitude. When 2 people pray, the amplitude increases, and as a result, fate begins to move, it shifts. And what if 3 people pray together? What if 600? The amplitude increases many times. Suddenly it gets easier. How do you determine that fate has moved? You feel in your heart that everything will be fine. How does bad fate work? It thickens the clouds. Everything around becomes bad. When bad fate arrives, it is accompanied by evil spirits. This doesn't depend on whether you believe in them or not. They come because they have the right to arrive at this time. How do evil spirits work? They act through lawless people. When people slander you, gossip about you, hate you, and you don't know where all this came from, this is the effect of bad fate. There are 2 ways to deal with it. The first way is to simply pray, wish everyone happiness, and not pay attention to them. When should you use this approach? When those people who are manifesting bad vibes towards you, they don't have much ability to change anything. They are just ruining your nerves, that's all. In this case, it's best not to pay attention. This is the most healing, best way to deal with them. Now imagine evil people can really harm you. Some of them are from the prosecutor's office, others from somewhere else. They can actually imprison you or do something to you. Usually people get confused at this point. They think that nothing can be done anymore. This is their misconception because there are 2 actions. One action happens on a subtle energy level, which is called pre-action. And the other is the action itself. Let's break down this example. Let's say a person wants to kill someone, but first they need permission. This means the person became scared of you, or angry with you, or confused. But if you don't get scared, don't get confused, and don't get angry, then there is no permission in their heart for this. This can be compared to a situation where, for example, a saint is in a cage with a tiger, and the tiger doesn't eat him because there is no reason. Even though the tiger is hungry, he doesn't eat the saint because there is no reason. The reason would be fear in the saint's eyes, anger in his eyes, a sense of doom. You understand? But if the saint loves the tiger, treats him kindly, then there is no reason. Once I conducted an experiment. When I came to Omsk, I was housed in a private house, and there was a dog living in this house. You know, there are such huge dogs. Her name was Karma, which means cause, fate. So imagine such a fate comes to you, a huge dog, a terrifying thing. The dog was chained, and when you walked by, the chain almost reached you, but she could break free from the chain if it started barking. Well, it was a scary picture. But I conducted an experiment. When I came home alone without the owners, Karma would jump out of her kennel and bark her friendly bark. I would stop right in front of her and she would run up to me. She was just doing her duty. She was fed for it. I looked at her kindly and said, "My dear Karma." She tried to scare me so that I wouldn't behave like that, to break my setting. And if I got scared, that meant she had the right to keep barking. Do you know how it all ended? When I would enter through the gate, the dog would run behind the kennel, hide from me, and bark from there. Why? Because she couldn't look me in the eyes. She was ashamed. Why am I telling you all this? Look, if there's a person who really wants to destroy you, then in order for them to destroy you, there's a pre-action. This means a foundation. For example, he's very determined to destroy you. Let's break down these two conditions. Let's say a person has the authority, for instance, to do something to you. Where do these powers come from? They come from your fate. If you defeat fate, pray every day, and work on yourself, how do you know? You feel calmness in your heart. The first sign of overcoming fate. For example, you're supposed to be sent to prison, but after praying, you feel calm in your heart. You pray and feel calm. Will they imprison you? There are two options. The first option, if they are not an aggressive or evil person, then when you feel calm in your heart, you're working through your own fate, and their desire to imprison you disappears. They may delay your trial or forget about it. In other words, the feeling that this needs to be done disappears. But let's imagine it's a demon, an evil person. There are people who are just naturally aggressive, evil, and they want to do something bad. Imagine that they still want to imprison you with the help of their inner strength, even despite the fact that you are overcoming fate. Then in this case, their power of asceticism comes into play. For example, this person is very ascetic, meaning strong, because asceticism gives power. You just need stationary position of the body, prolonged continuous movement, plus prayer, and to match their strength of asceticism. This means you've stopped being afraid of them because fear in your heart paralysis means they are stronger than you mentally. And that means they have a reason to punish you. But if your asceticism has reached the same strength as theirs and you no longer feel fear, yet they continue to be aggressive and attack every day, does that mean they will stop? No, because they have their own desire. It is completely unrelated to your asceticism. A person's desire to change is impossible. That is, a person is not fulfilling God's will and they have both conscience and the drive to punish you. They want to punish you. It's their desire. In this case, if they have such a desire, when you have done enough asceticism practice, you then tell God in your heart, "I want to direct my energy towards good deeds. I am tired of restraining this person's evil will. Let their evil will, as much as they want to unjustly harm me, harm them instead." And as soon as you say this to God in your heart, something amazing happens. It is described in the scriptures that when a person begins to act aggressively toward you, they are actually destroying themselves, and their life starts to deteriorate, not yours. It's clear how to handle this. And if a child is aggressive and wants to destroy you, you need to fill yourself with energy to calm down, to behave calmly. Just don't react to them, that's all. Distance yourself from them, don't engage, stop communicating with the person, isolate yourself from them. They have no ground to destroy you, they don't have a gun, they aren't a judge. In cases when a person is dealing with ignorant power, they just need to isolate themselves from it. For example, if a husband beats his wife, does he have the right to beat her? No, it's her fate to have such a husband. But even with such a fate, one can have different relationships. No one forbids a person from distancing themselves from such a fate. If a husband is beating, live separately from him, but don't leave him. Pray for him and live separately, that's it. Set conditions. Can you, in principle, leave a person who beats, acts aggressively, and behaves like a beast? This isn't called leaving, this is called putting him to the test. And if he doesn't want to change, then it's his problem. He is the one who is leaving. In other words, you can't spend your whole life waiting for him to change. If he acts like a beast, he's not a normal person. Just understand this is behavior in degradation. He acts like a beast, making your life dangerous. He creates danger. In this case, you live separately, set a deadline, pray for him, set conditions that need to be met for living together. If a person agrees to these conditions, then you can move back in with him. Most of the time he will fail because he doesn't do it willingly. You separate again. This happens several times until he learns to control himself. This is the most common way. But if a person doesn't want to change and says, "Go to hell," then it's him who is leaving. A year or a year and a half passes, you prayed and waited, and nothing happened. That's it. It's over with him. Even if you file for divorce, in this case, you won't be at fault. How long are you supposed to give your whole life to him? Something like that. So are there evil words? Yes. How much do they affect us? It depends on how much we give into them. For example, if someone said an evil word, if they cursed you, and if you believe that they cursed you, if you believe that this will affect you, then it will definitely happen. But to not believe it, you just need to focus on God, pray, and calm your heart. So what does faith mean? It means that the person has broken through your psyche. This person somehow impressed you with their strength. You just need to get rid of that impression. You need to pray and think about God. Eventually, you'll free yourself from this feeling that was put in your heart. This way, you'll get rid of this so-called curse or whatever it is. Does a curse exist in reality? A curse exists, it's real, but let me explain how it exists. For example, a man leaves his wife with 3 children and says, "You won't get alimony. Children are small, she can't work, she has to take care of them. So how is she supposed to live?" He cruelly leaves his wife with 3 children, and she has no idea how to live, and she hasn't really done anything bad. You know, she just thinks in her heart, "You will pay for this 100%. This is a curse, and it will definitely come true. How fast it happens depends on fate. For example, if he's having a good period in his life, during this time he won't receive anything bad. As soon as a bad period starts, everything will immediately go downhill, because he betrayed 4 people in his life, and from then on, his life will keep falling apart. Because that's the will of God. It's not her will, it's just God's will through her. Why through her? To make her life easier, to show her that there is justice in this world. But honestly, she doesn't even need to say, "You will pay for this." God will punish him anyway. So it's better not to get involved with this. Honestly, it's better not to. You know, there is this force. If someone has done something bad against you, they will pay for it. You can say that. But it's better not to, because you won't feel good about it either. I once had a case when I first started conducting my educational Ayurvedic festivals in nature. About 30 people came. This was maybe 20 years ago when I just started doing this. Now I hold large festivals with about 1,000 people coming. It's an international festival. People from 40 countries come. It will be difficult for you to come. You will need 2 flights through Minsk, but I also came to you that way. What can you do? Back then I had a small festival, and we held it for the first time in the Krasnodar region. There was a recreation center that suited us. Our friends worked there. And at this recreation center, we held the gathering. People came. I even invited an Indian who taught us. In general, everything was great. Students and teachers arrived. We all gathered, and we were supposed to stay there for 2 weeks. Then some cheerful guys in uniforms came and said, "What kind of cult are you organizing here? Get out of here immediately." I said, "People have come from all over the country." They said, "We don't care. This is the order of the head of district administration." I said, "All right, we'll talk to the head of district administration." I tried to talk to him, and he was just a fool shouting. I said, "Get out. I'll send the riot police." Of course, we left after that. We found another place. I told him, "In a year, you'll lose your job, and if you don't repent, you'll get a heart disease." I said those words. Later, the director of the recreation center told me that a year later, he was kicked out of his position, and he had a heart attack. After that, I didn't feel well. I didn't feel happy. Although I gave him what he deserved because he was abusing his position. He was destroying people's lives with impunity. Were we really disturbing them in that village? But I didn't feel happy after it happened. Do you know why? Because it's better to forgive people. Of course, he caused problems. He set the riot police on us and so on. But then I decided I wouldn't do that anymore. I decided not to use this inner ability to behave like that anymore. That's right, curse exists. It's based on knowledge. Usually a person who possesses strength, asceticism, or just someone you have wronged deeply can curse you. For example, if someone killed someone at the moment of death, the person looks at the murderer and thinks, "You will pay for this." This immediately triggers in the murderer's heart the processes of receiving that fate back. So sometimes a bad action becomes the basis. You can just say to the person who committed the evil act, "You will pay for this, and God will definitely fulfill your words." But it's better not to do that. If someone is aggressive, you can defend yourself. I once gave lectures in St. Petersburg. This was a couple of years ago. A husband and wife were driving me from the airport. Normally this is done by the organizers, but this couple wanted to drive me. Why did they want to? They told me their story. So the story is that they had their own business, and some kind people from certain government authorities came to them and said, "We like your business." They said, "Okay." They said, "We like your business, so you need to sell it to us cheaply. Otherwise, we will start inspections, and not only will you have to give up the business, but you'll also end up in prison." They were told such kind words by those kind people. And this couple listens to my lectures. They said, "We will think about it." Then they thought and decided to pray, perform healing practices. They decided to live according to the lectures and overcome their fate, because they understood that tough fate had come to them. You understand, just realizing that people are guilty means that you can't do anything about it. But if fate is guilty, then you understand everything correctly. You can do something about fate. It's just a matter of the amount of work that needs to be done. They started praying. At the first stage, they achieved peace in their hearts. Inspection began, and it couldn't do anything to them. Those people decided to act through intimidation, but the married couple were not intimidated, and the others began to fear, because when a person does evil, they are afraid to do more when no one is afraid. Someone must be afraid. When evil enters life, someone must be afraid. If you were scared, then there are grounds to continue. If you weren't scared, something is wrong. The abuser begins to fear. Well, you know how it ended? They overcame fate, and the abusers ended up in prison. This is how they told me. They explained everything to me step by step, how people who tried to oppress them ended up in prison. This really works like that. Use the opportunity, so to speak. This has happened to me many times in my life, not just once. I won't tell you everything because I don't want to bring it to the surface. As you understand, if I'm giving lectures, I'm in the public eye. You can even search for Torsunov online. There are many different conclusions about me. How do I feel about this? There was a time when I used to get upset and distressed about how people perceive me. I thought I was doing something good. But then I had a few internal revelations in life which led me to the realization that, first of all, I don't worry at all now about any criticism. I simply don't worry. There is nothing in my heart. Why? Because I had a certain realization in my heart. On one hand, those who criticize you seem to be hindering your life, but that's only from the first glance. In reality, my mentor told me something very profound. He said, "Look, if people didn't criticize you, what's the guarantee you wouldn't become arrogant? People love you, you're popular, and so on. That's the guarantee. There are people who constantly criticize you. That means you need to watch yourself. So they keep you within certain boundaries. Is that good or bad? If you're afraid of boundaries, then it's bad. If you're for self-development, working on yourself, then it's good. By the way, when these critics release some new material, we take it seriously, analyze it, see where our mistakes are, and correct them. This is called feedback. Usually kind people remain silent. They don't say anything. But if you do something wrong, an angry person will definitely write about it. We read their comments first, we see what's wrong, and then we fix it. So when there's criticism, it's not necessarily bad, it's normal. As one poet once said, if you're not being criticized, it means you're either unknown, powerless, or talentless. Unknown, powerless, and talentless. But if everything is the opposite, then you will definitely be criticized. If you start standing out even a little, it will definitely happen. Let me explain how this works. Let's say you approach me and ask, "Dr. Torsunov, I know one doctor. They're just amazing at treating people with various non-traditional methods. They also give great lectures, and I really enjoy listening to them. What do you think about them?" If someone asks me, I might feel in my heart that I don't have a very favorable opinion of them. Why? Because I am the same as them. This is called a feeling of competition. Or, for example, someone tells me, "You know, Dr. Torsunov, there's a festival like yours, but it's even better." And I'll think, not necessarily better, not necessarily. Where does this come from inside? Actually, this feeling arises from wanting everything to go well. But it turns out that something else might be even better, and you feel a certain dislike. I remember a 15-year-old girl who learned dance from my wife. She danced for the first time in our team. Everyone was happy with how she danced. She danced beautifully and was very beautiful herself. There were other young girls, also 15 years old. When I looked at them, they didn't seem too happy. Later, some of them decided to learn how to dance too. What happened to these 15-year-old girls? The same thing that I told you about the festival and the doctor. This invisible feeling strikes a person because we all have a desire for perfection. When someone else achieves something better than we have, it's a bit unsettling. If we realize this feeling within ourselves and acknowledge it, we can do something about it. But if we don't recognize it, then it just naturally feels like it's true. This feeling is called envy, or anger when it develops strongly. This feeling completely destroys a person's life. Because if you succumb to this feeling, the prospects for your development are destroyed. There are different things. There are 6 enemies of a person. The enemies of a person are such demonic forces that a person cannot cope with. The only reason they start to act is because the person agrees to their existence. The first such demonic force is lust. For example, what is lust? It's the thought that with another woman, I will probably be happier than with my wife. There are grounds for it. She is beautiful, good, loves me, I love her, etc. Many, many grounds. Can this feeling arise in a person's heart? It can. Is this lust? No, it's just a feeling, but if you agree with this feeling and start moving in that direction, that's called lust. And what does lust do to a person? Here's lust. He succumbed to it. This is what we call true love. A person succumbed to true love. He felt true love, left his wife, children for it, found his second half, so to speak. If a person succumbs to this feeling of lust, he has completely destroyed his happy life. This is the demon of lust. So you did this act for some very pure happiness, and now you will lose that happiness. There will be no more happiness in your life. No happiness. Why? Until you repent. Naturally, nothing is forever, but repentance will take a long time. Lust is a type of illusion that deceives a person and destroys their happiness. For example, all moths love the light. They all fly toward the light and perish from it. No moth dies from anything else. They all die from burning from the light. Fish most enjoy their sense of taste. They all die on hooks. A person enjoys sexual feelings. That's where they perish. The second enemy of a person is anger. Anger destroys relationships and prospects in life. For example, you worked somewhere and got angry at your boss. What happens next? This anger leads to the fact that you can no longer see anything good in this person, so you got angry at your boss. They also have something good, but your contact with that good part of them completely ceases. You only see bad in them. This means that very soon you will be fired from your job. You lost the ability to work there as a result of this anger. You can again repent and change your perspective, and then everything will be restored. You'll start seeing the good in your boss. The first time I was affected by anger was when I was 7 years old. It was a serious moment, and I realized something was wrong. How did it happen? It was one of the first classes I got an F on one page for what I wrote, and on the other page, right on the same sheet, I got a D. When classes ended, I went far away from school to rip out the page. Because it was very unpleasant to me, I didn't want my parents to see it. I decided to solve it this way. I went far enough so that there was no one around. And I happened to be standing in front of the classroom where I studied. The teacher saw me, approached, and when I was tearing the page, she started knocking on the glass. When I looked up, she called me. I came in. She glued the page and numbered all the pages. I had liked her before. She was so beautiful. I loved her, but all my love for her disappeared completely after that. I walked home and thought, that's it. She's a bad person. I'll never love her again. I was really disappointed in this person completely. Of course, I was punished at home. I studied well after that, and when I came the next day, I got a B. It was the same teacher. She taught us all classes in elementary school. When she gave me a B, I looked at her and thought, no, she's probably a good person after all. Since I kept track of myself, I have these tendencies. I began analyzing why I had initially liked her so much. Then when she gave me a D, I started seeing only bad things in her. And then when she gave me a B, I started seeing good things in her again, but with doubts. I started to have some suspicion. Maybe I have problems with perception. I started studying this topic. I began observing how people behave and realized that this is a very big danger. The danger lies in the fact that perception of the world changes very strongly as a result of anger. The same thing happens with resentment. You get offended, get angry, and you don't see anything good in the person. This means that you've fallen under the influence of an evil force, a demonic force that keeps you in this state. Lust leads destiny away from happiness. So if a person falls under lust, where does they end up? In an ambush. They were traveling along the road of destiny and veered off to the side. They end up in an ambush. So in the case when a person falls under the influence of anger, they lose the prospects of their life. For example, they could have worked at this factory, but they got angry at their boss. And now they can no longer work at this factory, even though they don't have a bad period in their fate. Lust also doesn't mean that there's a bad period in fate. You could have ignored it and continued living with your wife, and gradually everything would have passed. The third enemy of a person is greed. What is greed? It's when you give something in your life much more significance than it actually has. Greed strains a person and takes away their free time. For example, you decided that you urgently need an apartment. I'm not going to argue with you, and you might say, Dr. Torsunov, I really need an apartment, so what's the problem? Fine, I'm not against it. I'm just telling you what greed does to a person. Let's say you fell under the influence of greed, took out a mortgage. That's it, now watch your life. Remember, if you fall under the influence of this demon, the evil spirit of greed, the following things will happen in your life. You won't be able to relax in life. You will be in constant tension. Your free time will diminish more and more. You won't have time to do exercises or to look at your loved ones kindly. You will be like a blindfolded horse. Do you know what that means? When they put blinders on a horse, it can only run in one direction and nowhere else. This life completely destroys you. 2 or 3 years pass and you just go crazy from this state. You can't talk to your wife, you can't talk to your children, you can't even work because you have no strength. Greed completely depletes a person's psyche. The person constantly thinks about paying off this mortgage. They can't take their mind off it. This is called greed, which destroys their health and strength. It weakens the person. They become powerless. The next fourth enemy of a person is illusion. It's alcohol. You drink and it feels great. So you fall under the influence of an enemy of a person, an uplifting spirit or illusion. The fifth enemy of a person is called envy or malice. It's when you feel bad towards someone because they achieved something and you didn't. For example, you loved a guy and he married your friend. Then your friend becomes your enemy for life. Although he has the right to marry whoever he wants, it doesn't have to be you. This is called malice or envy. The enemy of a person grabs hold of the throat and then the trouble starts. The last enemy of a person is called madness. This enemy is the only one that comes from a past life. Madness means schizophrenia, psychopathy, epilepsy, those types of inadequate conditions. They arise from committing a very evil act against someone in a past life which destroys the person's psyche. If you destroy someone's psyche with your behavior, in the next life, fate will destroy yours. All of this can be overcome. Through healing practices, good deeds, and repentance, you can rid yourself of the influence of all these enemies of a person if you truly want to. So the enemies of a person are those that influence the mind. If this force influences your mind, you won't think that you're doing something bad. Greed doesn't seem like greed. Lust doesn't seem like lust. Anger doesn't seem like anger. Illusion doesn't seem like an illusion. What illusion? Is it really wrong to have a drink? Envy doesn't seem like envy. They're really bad people. Madness is madness. Nothing more to say here. So what attracts evil forces to us? Why do they come into our lives? Only during a tough period in life. Bad energy comes from the heart. Colors darken, everything feels wrong. This doesn't mean everything will go badly during this time. Just understand why these periods happen. Actually, it's not even worth calling them bad, because they are just periods where a person is being tested. They are being tested at that time. A bad period just means a person needs to perform more healing practices, pray more, add more positivity to their life, forgive more, endure, love, and then things will turn around. You see, when something presses down on you and you go through that test, the opposite happens. You don't just get the normal outcome, you get better than the normal because you gain strength. Imagine, for example, you were carrying a weight. Now you stop carrying that weight, what happens? It gets easier to walk because you're walking without the weight now. That's the phenomenon. A person becomes stronger after a bad period. If you accept your fate and not fearing the darkness, you become strong. This is how most people begin to heal. The ability, the gift of healing means overcoming tough fate. They start healing the paralyzed because they themselves were once paralyzed. When a person overcomes the influence of a huge force and defeats it, they gain strength to help others. not just overcoming their own fate, but helping others. So a bad period isn't bad in terms of life. It's just a test. Sometimes people face huge tests because God relies on their strength. God never gives a big test to someone who can't handle it. How does it work? Let me tell you. From the depths of fate, there are so many struggles for each person that they could immediately kill us. People ask, Dr. Torsunov, why can't we see our past lives? It's about the same thing. For example, in this life, you've had some tough events, right? Do you remember them now? No. Why? Because if you did, you'd go crazy. You can't live like that. It all gets blurred in your mind. It becomes foggy. A person wants to remember the good because that's what gives them the strength to live and to overcome, and they can't remember the bad. Memory means life. What you remember is what you live. Imagine if in this life we can't even remember the bad things that happened, then what about the past? Just imagine if we remember it now. What will happen to us? Fate will crush us. There are many events inside us that could crush us, but how much can a person bear? For example, how much of the bad fate comes out? What do you think? How much can the space of our fate withstand? Whatever we can handle, that's what comes out. The thing is, we're not always ready to fight it. First, we don't even know what to do with it. We need to do healing practices when things get tough, wish happiness to everyone, distract ourselves from our own troubles, live for others. Fate binds you to itself and says, suffer, feel bad, now you won't sleep. You'll think about this. But you need to perform healing practices, pray, detach from yourself, give yourself to others in order to overcome your fate. Because victory over fate is in the memory. If you divert your memory away from that draining, destructive process of thinking about how hard it is and start doing something good, you begin to fill up with energy. So what is a bad fate? It drains your energy, you just lose your strength. And what do good deeds do? They fill you with strength, so they neutralize bad fate. In other words, if a person doesn't think about themselves and serves others, there is no bad fate. That's how it works with monks. For example, there are monks in monasteries. Do they live for themselves there? Ideally, no. That's how it should be. They live their whole life just serving others. And if a monk lives like this, bad fate can't do anything to them, because bad fate attaches to a person's desires. For example, there's a husband. When it's time for bad fate to act, in what case will bad fate torment a wife through her husband? Only if she wants happiness from him. But if she doesn't want happiness from him, then she won't be tormented. That's the principle. I'm the one who allows fate to torment me. If I don't want anything from those who are tormenting me, then they can't torment me. For example, if someone insults me and I forgive them, can they torment me? No. Or if someone wants to harm me and I distance myself from them? If my husband comes home wanting to hit me, but I go to my mom's house, can he hit me? No. Why did I go to my mom's? Because I'm not as attached to him. Attachment means wanting happiness. Usually when a person's husband comes and wants to hit them, the wife still approaches and starts talking to him. Why are you acting like this? What do you want? So she's the one getting in his face. He already wants to hit her, and now she's pushing him, even more so. Why is she doing it? Because she wants happiness from him. She doesn't want this kind of relationship. In other words, a loved one is meant for us to serve them, not to expect happiness from them. Bad fate acts through expecting happiness. If you expect nothing from a person, they won't do anything bad to you. If I'm expecting them to say something kind, but they call me names, that's how bad fate works. But if I'm expecting nothing and they insult me, so what? I wasn't expecting anything. It's also very important to know that when a difficulty arises, a person should have an internal mechanism that kicks in, where they distract their memory from what's happening in the current reality. It's crucial to have this mechanism. This mechanism is only developed through inner life. If you know how to wake up early in the morning, pray, forget about yourself, praise God, praise God, praise God, and this prayer becomes so ingrained in your heart that you're always ready to turn it on, then a person can truly overcome difficult periods in life. This is called being engaged. Being engaged is like a fuse, it kicks in when the current exceeds a certain limit. You need an internal safety mechanism, which is developed through inner life. With it, at a dangerous moment, you can immediately tune yourself to something that saves you. Memory of nature, memory of good people, memory of God. Memory means strength, connecting you with something opposite to fate. What does fate do? It makes you think about yourself. Raise your hand if right now you can't detach from the thoughts going through your mind about your life. This state is called stress, my dears, and fate is the cause of this state. It's the time when fate has bound you to yourself. You can't break free. Your mind is focused only on yourself and can't break free. This works through memory and pain. Fate causes pain in the heart through events. Fate causes pain, and memory always attaches to pain. As a result, a person can't even sleep. They keep thinking about what is happening. This is called stress. In this state, a person gets more and more exhausted. Nothing is left of them. Stress leads a person to depression. What is depression? It's a state where a person lives as if in a fog. They don't feel life at all. It's as if they are in a dream. Everything happening around them doesn't touch them. This is called depression. Raise your hand if you've had this state. What should be done? Know that love defeats stress and depression. Only love can shift a person's consciousness and memory to something that revives their life. Nature is worthy of love. Nature provides relief. At first it may seem like a small relief, but if a person walks constantly, they gradually feel better. It's also important to wish everyone happiness in nature and to move. Don't be like a herring. You need to move, and it's best to do this without anyone distracting you. Don't go to nature to have barbecue or watch TV. You need to wish happiness to everyone, do exercises, walk, do something that helps you immerse yourself in the joy of what's happening around you. And if you can enter this state, you will gradually feel better. Usually the ability to connect with nature is enhanced by the fact that a person was born in nature. The best place to go is the one where you lived in your childhood. It works very quickly and powerfully. But if that's not possible, still find a place that you really like, where you feel happiness. This place will relieve you from stress if you visit it regularly and take walks. It's very important to engage in this process because otherwise you lose yourself. Depression is a terrible weapon that destroys a person's life. A person in depression is drained, and during this time, serious chronic illnesses develop because there is no energy to live. So you need to direct your memory to nature because it nourishes a person with health and strength. This is the first thing I recommend you do, and it really helps. No special conditions are needed for this. When it gets difficult, when you have no strength to live, a person turns to where they receive from God. And nature is the energy of God, the strength to live. This is the most effective way to overcome depression and stress, which people don't use. They sit and mope, thinking about their own problems, destroying their life at that time. There are songs with the energy of love. When the energy of love enters relationships, knowledge sinks deeper into the heart. I play songs so that knowledge settles deeply in your heart. And who are singers? They are people who can model a situation. They really enter the image of what is happening. They deeply immerse a person who listens to it. These are talented people who are capable of deeply experiencing what is happening. For example, in a situation where a person has been left, it's as if their heart has flown out of their chest. How does this happen? Everything breaks inside. It feels bad, heavy, impossible to live. And what remains for the person? Either to die, if they keep thinking about the bad, or to break this vicious cycle. The only way to break it is with love, and that's why, intuitively, a person begins to strive for what they love. For example, in this case, they love the snow-covered steppe. They like it. And despite the fact that they feel bad, tears are flowing. They are riding through this snowy steppe, and in this way they are saving their life. They feel happier, happier, and happier. That's how victory over fate comes. You need to love something, my dears. Therefore, a person should strongly strive in life to find sources of love. There are only 3 sources: nature, good people, and God. You need to search before misfortune comes. Otherwise, nothing will save you. Nothing will tear you away from your memory of these bad events, except for these 3 forces. Listen to how this detachment happens. It's a gradual process, but you need to make an effort. You need to go there, forget everything, go where something saves you. It's not about going to a bar, not to the movies, but to good people. Good people mean they don't want anything from you. They want to help you and speak kindly to you. A temple, God, spiritual chanting or nature cleanse the heart, irrigate the soul, and save. This is how fate is overcome. And you too have overcome it now, because this is the very mood. A person breaks through, and with the help of love for nature they go, and nothing will stop them now. You understand? You cannot give in, you need to move towards love. Love is the energy of faith. It comes from God. You need to find that strength which will give you the ability to live and continue striving towards it, just like a plant strives toward the sun. Just like a chick striving towards its mother. Just like that, a person should strive towards the strength that will save them in that moment when they are suffering. You see, it's not about booking a consultation with a psychologist who calms your nerves or explains the logic of life. You need kindness at that moment. Kindness comes from nature. Kindness comes from good people. A kind person is one whose heart has the desire to help you. And they give you happiness. You feel relief from these relationships. Kindness means the power of God. This is not human power. Only a person with faith can be kind. If a person feels the truth, feels that everything will be fine, that means they have faith in God. If this feeling that everything will be fine is destroyed, it means you have met an atheist, someone who extinguished that feeling in you. Such a person does not give you strength to live. Is there a possibility for me to get married? Well, there's a chance. Doctor, will I live? Well, I wouldn't advise you. You need to come into contact with that strength which through love will cleanse the heart and give you the ability to live. This is the meaning of conquering fate. Only in this way can it be conquered. Only like this, my dears. It cannot be done any other way. You need a source of love, a strong connection with it, and you need to immerse yourself in this mood. You should not give in to all these gossips when you start listening to people who are constantly complaining and moaning. These people destroy your life. What nourishes life? Immersion in God. The pattern is always the same. Here's one pattern I've shown you. Here's the second one. For example, a person loves wind, fresh air. This too is the energy of God, and it gives a person the strength to live. The sun gives optimism. If you are a pessimist, it means you need to love the sun. Wish happiness to everyone under the sun. If you lack concentration, willpower, or the ability to move forward in life, then you need fresh air. Fresh air gives you the strength to live. 1, 2, 3, 4. A person becomes strong, purposeful, and joyful in the fresh air, you understand? But for this, you need to love it, not fear it. You don't need to fear the wind. This is the energy of God. The energy of God uplifts a person, nourishes them. It gives them the strength to live. It inspires them, you understand? A person is a child of nature. They should live in this energy. They should not live gloomily. You need to live in this energy of fresh air and sun. Once I was standing in the Black Sea, waist deep in water, and with my eyes closed, I faced the sun and prayed. I immersed myself more and more in my relationship with water, with the sun. Two opposing elements, when they unite, they act very powerfully. On one hand, the sun gives powerful character strength and optimism, and on the other hand, water gives calmness. This is a masculine and feminine principle, sun and water. It's a masculine, feminine principle. And I was standing and filling myself with one, with the other, praying and thinking about God. And at this time, people are swimming and splashing around me, and as I fill myself with energy, and they do not, they all gather around and start looking at me. Everyone becomes curious. Why? Because there is an energy of happiness. I stand and pray, experiencing happiness, filling myself with strength, and everyone around grumbles, sectarian. How should I treat them? With understanding. It's difficult for them. They lack energy. They don't know how to concentrate. I can't explain it to them. What can be done? I just need to keep praying. Sectarian, so be it. What can you do? Imagine one dog runs up to another. One growls and the other one does the same. 5 minutes later, they are both barking. A passerby goes by. Which dog do they think is good and which one is bad? 5 minutes later, which one is good and which one is bad? They are both the same. They are both barking. What does this mean? It means that they are equally matched. That is, if you give in to the provocation, you are the same as the one who provokes you. So, for example, I was standing in the sun, looking at the sun, praying, and they were there, sectarian, swimming nearby and grumbling. Imagine, I stopped looking at the sun. You are sectarians. They replied, no, you are sectarian. And a person walks by, looks at which dog is better out of these two. They are the same. Do you understand what I'm talking about? We need to try to perceive this world more deeply. I started working on myself in my youth. I was very young and I got involved in this activity. I started practicing yoga, then running barefoot in swimming trunks on the snow. I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I was very young at that time. And everyone started thinking I was a little crazy. Well, just a little bit. Then it continued in medical school. Before the institute, I would go outside. All the old ladies in the building I lived in would sit by the windows and watch. I would do exercises barefoot on the snow and then pour cold water over myself from a bucket. Then I would immediately put on my clothes and walk to the college. I had a black jacket. I never wore a coat. It was winter. It was winter. This is Samara, in the central part of Russia. My hair would get covered with a layer of ice, and in that state I would go into the institute. Does everything become clear right away? I always felt in my heart that people who were laughing at me or making fun of me, there was nothing wrong with that. Well, that's how they saw the world, that's how they perceived me. I somehow accepted it calmly. You know, everything changes. Now, for example, a few people from my class, with whom I studied in school, listen to my lectures and even attend the Good People Club in Tolyatti. You understand? A few students I studied with, they are also working on themselves, listening to the lectures. Everything has changed. Only about 30 years have passed. So everything changes, people's perceptions change. Why does this happen? Because fate tests you. If you've embarked on the path of self-improvement, the first thing that will happen is that all the people in your life's layer, the life you live, will test you. They will start rebelling. They will think you're not a normal person. There's a parable. A wise man caught scorpions. These are insects in India that can kill. They have very strong venom. He caught these scorpions and didn't even close the jar. When he was asked why he wasn't afraid they would escape his house, he said, "I'm not afraid because they have such a bad character that if one of them tries to climb out of the jar, the others will pull it back in." And that's exactly what happened. If a scorpion tried to climb out, immediately one of the others would jump on it and it would fall back. So there was no need to even close the jar. They wouldn't let each other climb out. There is a similar mechanism with people. There are 3 layers of life. For example, if you live in a degradation layer, it's called depression, gossip among women. This is a degradation layer for women. For men, the degradation layer is the criminal world. These are criminals. And when you leave the layer of degradation, for example, when criminals see that someone has decided to change, they start threatening him. They say, "If you're not with us, not with the gang, then we'll stab you," and so on. This is always how it happens. For example, if you've started living a different life, everyone around you immediately starts saying, "What's happening to you? Can you live like a normal person?" This is because your fate is testing you. Fate works through them. No one says that to me now. On the contrary, now my mother prays. My wife's mother prays too. All around, acquaintances, relatives, everyone around lives this way. There is not a single person who would say, "Are you crazy living like that?" No one says that. Because I passed my life's exams, my dears. When I was passing my exams when I was in the 10th grade, I studied human psychology very deeply. I learned to feel myself in a dream. I learned to sit in my subtle body in the dream, then stand up, then jump, then fly. And then I started learning to fly out of the window in my subtle body, flying to the neighbors. I watched how they lived. So I studied this world in this way. I understood that there is a subtle energy body, and I had no one to share this with. You understand? My mom found a psychiatrist to see if I had a mental illness. I went to the psychiatrist. She asked me questions. She said, "Do you remember yourself in your sleep?" I said, "Yes, I remember myself in my sleep." But I thought the person understood what I was doing. She asked me and diagnosed me with schizophrenia. And I was already preparing to enter medical school. There were only a few months left. And I said to my mom, "What have you done? I won't be able to enter medical school now." And she said, "Son, forgive me. I probably did something wrong." In the end, she found me another psychiatrist. It turned out to be the chief psychiatrist of the city. I came to him and started explaining. He said to me, "This is just like what happened to me. Well, tell me your story." It turned out that he had also developed this way in his youth. He sent me to his friend, who was the director of a psychiatric hospital in Samara. I went there, talked about self-improvement, and he removed the diagnosis from the records. That was the end of it. What does it mean? I'm saying that if you've started on the path of self-improvement and development, there will be one serious obstacle on that path: the opinions of your close ones. If a person just lives normally, no one says anything. But as soon as they start raising their intelligence, as soon as they begin to develop as a person, everyone immediately gets scared, because their life is changing, and they are changing their fate. Imagine we all drove into the same swamp, and then my loved one turns around and doesn't want to go into the swamp anymore. What's going on? It seems wrong. And people start to worry. They get scared that you might secretly be drawn into some kind of sect. I'm sitting and giving a lecture, and you are paying for it. I'm sitting here, secretly pulling you into a sect. That's what your loved one thinks, you understand? And the reason for these thoughts is that your consciousness is changing. And that's the hardest thing for people to perceive. You understand? It's very difficult to accept that your loved one is changing. For example, there are things that are strongly related to fate. For example, if you eat apples or not, will anyone ask you about it? If you stop eating apples, will anyone care? No. If you stop eating bread, that will bother people more because it's more related to fate. But if you stop eating meat, that's a big deal. Immediately everyone is on edge. What? You can't live without meat? I remember about 15 years ago in Kiev, I was invited to a children's show about vegetarianism. It was a live broadcast. It was a light-hearted show. And a guy about 17, 18 years old says to me, "You can't live without meat." I said, "I disagree." He says, "Without meat, a person dies. They can't live because of the essential amino acids." I replied, for the first time on Kiev TV, "A dead doctor." He says, "What dead doctor?" I replied, "Well, I have lived without meat for 20 years. I've been dead for a long time and came to the show dead." Everyone laughed. Why does a person fear living without this food? Is it really related to these essential proteins? I haven't eaten meat for 30 years. My daughter has never eaten meat in her life, and everything is fine with the proteins. As you age, you need less and less food to live. Food is digested more efficiently, and it should be light and healthy. Meat is strongly connected to personality development. If a person eats this food, their development suffers because they bring energy of violence into their life. When an animal is killed, its subtle energy body is connected to the physical. This is true for all living beings. For example, when a person dies until their body decomposes, they are still connected to it. For example, in order to keep a holy person in contact with their body, they invented something, embalming the body, not letting it decompose. And as a result, for thousands of years, the holy person remains connected to their body. So people come to this body and it revives them, heals them, gives them strength, and often holy people willingly agree to this to help people in this way. When body decays, soul no longer maintains contact with it. This body is no longer needed. Know that as long as meat is fresh, an animal is still connected to its body. How does it stay connected? Well, it was violently thrown out of its body. How does it stay connected? Everyone who comes in contact with its body and tries to eat it takes on the problem of that animal, the problem of the animal that was killed. Therefore, it is food that contaminates consciousness. It does not contribute to development. But if you stop eating it, you immediately become a different person. You've moved to a different level of life. And that's why your relatives get scared, because they feel that they are losing you. This is true. You are heading in a different direction by fate. Therefore, be kind to them. If they say eat and start throwing tantrums, it's just out of fear. They feel they are losing you because your life and their life are starting to separate. But this only seems like that at first, because if you don't become fanatic and act kindly, your loved ones will also gradually start to consume less of this food. A person should eventually give up alcohol and meat, because these two products hinder the development of a person. This food doesn't contribute to happiness. It doesn't bring happiness. Please raise your hands if you've stopped eating meat and feel happier. You feel your life is more joyful. This is natural. Who among you has quit drinking and felt happier? It's the same. Just a bunch of sectarians gathered here.
Please tell us, are seafood products not considered meat?
Seafood is not meat. For example, shrimp is a water plant. It's not meat, it's a plant, a form of aquatic life. As the song says, we are cheerful jellyfish. We look like watermelons. Imagine I'm floating on the sea and people point at me and say, "Here comes a seafood product." Would that be pleasant or not? When shrimp swim in the sea, they don't consider themselves seafood. But we consider them seafood. Now, all jokes aside, let's finally settle this issue. An eternal soul has 3 ways of existing in this world. These ways depend on what soul needs. If it just wants to rest here, without anyone disturbing it, then it gets a plant body. This is called a sleep without dreams. A plant doesn't know itself, it doesn't realize itself. And if, for example, you trim the branches of a tree, it grows even stronger because it slightly awakens. The second form of life is called a sleep with dreams. This means that a soul wants to relax. It wants happiness, it doesn't want to work on itself, because happiness and working on oneself are opposite states of consciousness. And so it gets an animal form of life. An animal form of life is meant for various kinds of happiness. For example, if you want to relax and feel freedom, you get the body of a bird. If you want to relax in motion, you get the body of a nus antelope. Or if you want to enjoy the elements of nature, you get the body of a dolphin or a fish. If you want to eat a lot, you get the body of a cow. It eats and chews constantly. If you want to sleep, you get the body of a bear. If you want a comfortable life and also to sleep, you get the body of a small koala bear. This bear hangs from a tree on its arm and mostly sleeps. And when it wakes up, it sees the most delicious food on earth right in front of it, leaves of this tree. It eats and goes back to sleep. And there is never winter there. If a person gets tired of everything in this world and wants happiness, then they get an animal form of life. Why? To simply relax and rest. This is called a sleep with dreams. There is sleep without dreams, and there is awakened consciousness. It is the consciousness a human being is born with. Remember, it's not recommended for a person to eat forms of life with awakened consciousness. That means a sleep with dreams is not recommended, because during this time the living being is already aware of itself, and therefore it suffers from death. The difference is enormous. For example, if we take shrimp, they are almost like sleep without dreams. They barely realize themselves. These are the most irrational forms of life. And from the perspective of which meat to eat, whether it's cat, cow, or shrimp, of course shrimp is better, because it doesn't understand that it has been killed. It understands, but not as much as a cow or a cat. Domestic animals have the most developed consciousness because they interact with humans. Humans transfer consciousness to them. They are enlightened by humans. They awaken. There are two more types of consciousness that can develop in a person. The first type is called awakened consciousness. The person wakes up. Everyone is still waking up, but they are already awakened. What does it mean to be awakened? It means that they feel fate, the flow of time. They feel past lives. They feel that there is God, that life has an eternal nature. In other words, the person lives with different concepts. They have awakened from the sleep of existence that people usually live in. They have realized that life must be lived for another purpose. There is another reason to live. Awakened consciousness means a person lives in pure goodness. They live with different concepts. And there is also a vivacious consciousness. A vivacious consciousness arises in a person whose heart has no trace of sin, meaning that they are like a shining source of happiness. They are filled with God and constantly share His energy. Through them, this energy of God flows like a river. This is holiness. A person shines with mercy. Just a second of communication with them, and your whole life changes for the better. You remember this person, think of them, and everything in your life immediately changes. This is called a holy person. It is very valuable to have contact with such a person in life. Can you eat seafood? If you mean seaweed, then it is a good, healthy product. But if you mean shrimp, it is better than slaughtering lamb. But worse than eating a plant, because plants cause less suffering to the person when you eat them. In fact, there are products that cause no suffering at all. For example, apples. They have no life in them. Life appears in the apple seed when it comes into contact with water and sunlight. Before that, there is no life. There is no life in wheat. It is what gives life in the future, but there is no life in it. Therefore, there is no bad fate. Wheat, apples, milk. Milk is a product meant for love. These products are pure from the standpoint of fate. They don't bring anything bad at all. All nuts, all seeds, fruits, they are pure food from the standpoint of fate. If you tear a leaf, you are already causing pain, but it is still quite pure food compared to meat, 1,000 times purer. When you eat the root, you are already taking life from the plants, but still, it doesn't know this, doesn't feel it. Therefore, it's not so bad compared to killing a living being to eat it. As for the faith in degradation, this is when people constantly focus on the negative. This is what the mass media are doing now. So, my dear friends, you decide for yourselves what you want to contact with in life. Because when you receive some news, you connect your consciousness with that event. If this event is befouling, then you become befouled. And if it nourishes you, then you are nourished. For example, if you learned that a monk was doing austerities and achieved happiness, healed someone, you also received a bit of that happiness. The same thing happens when you find out that someone overcame their illness, saved their family, or something good happened in your country. Now I have a question for you. Does anyone ever tell you such news? No, because this news doesn't excite interest. You see, increased interest always arises when you give something connected to fear. Fear, desire, envy, anger, these are the sources of energy that greatly excite the consciousness and spontaneously attract people. That's why the mass media mostly thrive on these feelings. And what do? They just befoul your life, that's all. What does it mean to befoul your life? It means that you lose the strength to go outside, wish everyone happiness, forgive, think about something good. What does a person with a befouled consciousness look like? This person doesn't feel that there's anything good in this city at all. If you stop contacting all these sources of so-called happiness, then life becomes really great, with no problems at all. But if you are immersed in it, then every second of life you are befouling yourself, because your energy of happiness, which is meant to overcome your fate, is being scattered on all these things. I will explain how this happens. For example, in Mozambique, someone dies of hunger. You are informed about it. You read about it. What happens? Your psyche goes to Mozambique and starts helping the one who died of hunger. You should be helping yourself, but instead you go to Mozambique. It's one thing if you could really help this person, but most likely you won't help, and instead you'll probably get scared. That means you are befouling yourself with this event. You understand? A person should read about something only if they want to help. For example, if you read about something, either help or don't read at all. Or if you read it, don't delve into too many details. If you immerse yourself in some event, you are definitely befouling yourself with it. Speaking about curses, a person curses themselves. What is a cursed person? It's a person who doesn't feel that anything good is happening at all. They only interact with the negative. They don't engage with the positive. This means their life cannot be happy in this case, because they are immersed in what destroys their life. Therefore, the Vedas explain that there are two types of consciousness in general. Some people want success, they want happiness. These people are compared to bees that fly to where there is pollen and nectar. This is the energy of love from the flower. Love means happiness, and they buzz, they are looking for happiness. These bees are ecstatic, they are so happy. If you look into their eyes, they are joyful. And they are always looking for happiness. This is called a pure goodness insect. The Vedas really describe these pure goodness insects. You see, many insects love the sweet taste, but what makes them different from each other? Bees don't pay attention to anything except nectar. They live only for this. And they bring it to the hive, leave it, then fly off again and bring more. And when they get tired, they roll around in the honey, cover themselves in it, and basically get a bit high from it. Then the other bees lick them, and they fly off again. This is how their life goes. Now flies. Flies also like sweet things. They fly towards sweetness. But on their way, when they fly towards it, they notice, man, something's decaying. So they want to deal with this decay, and they fly into it. There they lay their larvae, and their entire life takes place in decay. So, my dears, you decide for yourselves, what do you want in this life? Do you want nectar and pollen or decay? What a person strives for, that is what they achieve in their life. This is called communication. Remember, communication is nothing more than directing your destiny in a particular direction. Look at where you are directing your fate. If you want love, happiness, faith, then communicate with positive people who only think about good things. You might say, but these people live in some kind of illusion. Everything here is bad. Or maybe you live in an illusion. Maybe the opposite is true. What's bad? Everything is good. You see, illusion is what destroys life. But what gives life is not an illusion. It is the truth. Truth gives life to a person, and lies destroy it. Therefore, truly, a person should attach their consciousness to the news that brings happiness. If you want to read the news, look for positive news. Who helped whom? Who did something good? If you want to watch movies about holy people, how they overcome fate, how they fight for happiness, how they are internally focused. Copy them, try to connect with these people, then your life will start changing for the better. But if you are constantly befouled by bad news, then everything will be bad. You might say, Dr. Torsunov, do you want to lead us into illusion? If you think it's an illusion, let's just take a little break from it. For example, there's a war going on. Let's say a person is fighting in the war. They have two ways of perceiving the world. One option, everything is bad, we will die. The second option, everything is fine, we will win. Which do you think will lead to victory? There's no other option, you understand? If you think everything is bad, then you're already dead. But if you believe that everything will be fine, then you have many chances. And if in this belief you die, you immediately go to heaven, because you've passed the test of life. A person should never and nowhere lose themselves. It means, don't think about the bad. What does thinking about bad things mean? It's suicide, it's losing yourself. How should you treat bad things? If you can fix it kindly, fix it. If you can't, don't think about it. If you can't fix it, don't think about it. But if you start criticizing, what does that mean? It means you've become a factor of negativity which accumulates destructive power. For example, if you're a prosecutor and see that there's some kind of mess going on, take action and deal with it kindly. If you're a teacher, educate. If you're a parent, put your child in the corner kindly. But if you're not really involved, then you have two options. Either you need to understand if you can change it kindly, or if you can't, then don't get involved at all. Because if you bring in negativity, everything just gets worse, not better. Do you understand what I mean? I'm talking about your ability to overcome fate. When a person falls into negativity, this force destroys their fate. This applies to everything in life. For example, I went to see a good doctor. He looked at my eye and realized that my eye pressure was increasing. Then he started asking me how I live. He asked, "Do you have any physical strain in your life?" I said, "I run 16 kilometers." He said, "With glaucoma? That's awful." He asked, "What else?" I said, "I swim in ice cold water." He said, "Are you crazy? You have glaucoma? What else?" I said, "I stand on my head for 10 minutes. Are you serious?" And so gradually he took away my whole life. He's a scientist, a doctor of science. I'm also a scientist, but his words somehow affected me. I'm just telling you about the changes in my consciousness. I stopped communicating with him and felt that I had two options. The first option was to go blind and continue giving lectures. I even imagined myself with a patch over my eye. I thought, well, it's fine. People accept me as I am. And the second option was to save my eye, but completely lose myself. Stop running, stop swimming in cold water, stop standing on my head, stop everything. And he convinced me that it was because of these activities that I had this issue with my eye. So, with all this baggage inside, I walked out of that doctor's office. It was an amazing feeling. I really liked it. I felt like my life just ended after that appointment. You see, my dears? So I came home, and I was thinking, what should I actually recommend doing in these situations? Fate just gave me a blow to the head. It knocked my memory out. I was not able to think. I sat down, started praying, and thought, what should it be? Fate knocked my memory out. I really felt that way. What should be the result? Calmness should be there. I prayed and calmness came. That's it, calmness, so I won't go blind. But my eye was blurry. Really, I had a blurry eye. It was already blurry. The retina was starting to suffer. It was a serious stage of glaucoma. There was no joking around with the doctor, no jokes. I sat still, prayed, and calmness came into my heart. Then I thought, if calmness comes, maybe I can overcome this disease somehow. So I asked him. I said, what about herbs, acupuncture, something like that? He said, nothing cures glaucoma except drops. Well, I just kept praying. I prayed. I tried the drops in my eye, and immediately the pressure went down and my eye felt like, my eye didn't feel well. I thought, will I really live with this eye like this? Drops made it feel so bad. It was just awful. My eye was repulsed by the drops. I thought, is this how I'll live? Well, I just started praying. First, calmness came into my heart. At the second stage, I started feeling that I must be connected to some areas, points that could have an effect. I started studying what glaucoma was. I found out that it's just muscle spasms, and they block the outflow of eye fluid. This spasm blocks the outflow of eye fluid, and the fluid starts accumulating in the eye. Do you know why I'm telling you all this? I'm telling you how I overcame fate. So I started praying and felt calmness in my heart. After that, at the second stage, I felt in my heart that something could be done. Gradually, I realized that I could affect my eye through the ear. Then in my mind, I found the area in the ear that was connected to the eye. Then I started trying to place different metal pieces, needles in that area, and my eye immediately felt worse. I realized, it's working, I was just placing the wrong things. Then I started using seeds, and I felt they were having a gentler effect. Then I started meditating, and during prayer I saw the seeds that would relieve the tension in my eye. I placed 9 types of seeds. Out of thousands I selected 9, and they completely relaxed my eye. So I adjusted my eye pressure to normal now. In fact, it's even a bit lower. Just to be safe, I made it a little lower. The norm is 20, and I set it to 19 just in case. In other words, I've been walking around with these seeds for 2.5 years, and my pressure is completely fine. It never rises. But that's not all, my dear friends. I didn't stop there. I took off the seeds and started studying life. Because this good doctor wanted to help me. I didn't believe him. I didn't believe that what I was doing to improve my health was ruining my eye. So I continued studying. I run 16 kilometers without the seeds. I have a device to quickly measure my eye pressure. When I run 12 kilometers, my pulse is through the roof. My assistant takes the device, measures my eye pressure. It's normal. Then in the sauna, while I'm lying there for a long time in the steam, relieving the tension, he measures my eye pressure. It's below normal. I stand on my head. He measures my eye pressure. It's normal. Even when I'm standing on my head, it's normal. I dive into ice-cold water. He measures it there. It's below normal. So none of these things raise my eye pressure. I sit down at the computer, measure the pressure. It immediately goes up. I started studying this topic. I involved all my employees. I have 30 people working in the office. They all have computers. I began measuring eye pressure in all of them. Each one had at least one eye with slightly elevated pressure after using the computer. So here it is, the reason for the increased eye pressure. So, my dears, what I've just described to you, I've described the process of befouling people, how they fall into a state where they lose themselves. Let's say you were told you can't heal your joints anymore, and after that, you won't heal them. You won't heal them until you overcome your destiny. I've described these stages to you. You should pray, study, and work on yourself. And then it turns out everything is not as the doctor said. The fact that I could have gone blind was obvious, because I resemble my grandfather who lived in Ukraine. He went blind in one eye after the age of 50. Do you understand the system? The only reason why I'm not blind is that there is a way to overcome fate. A woman in Estonia approached me and said, "Dr. Torsunov, I already have bad joints. You said that long walks are needed to cleanse subtle energy channels and heal joints. But mine are already bad. I can barely walk. All my joints are already in pain." I said, "Can you walk slowly?" She said, "I can." I said, "Walk slowly, but for a long time. Increase the distance." After some time, this woman told me that she started walking very slowly and very long distances. At first, after these walks, all her joints ached. If they ache, it means they're healing. Pain means they're breaking down, but aching, a discomfort, means they're healing. Can you imagine? She healed her illness. She was even able to walk faster later. Let me tell you another story. When I started running, all my friends told me I shouldn't run. I should walk with poles. They say running destroys knee joints. When I ran for a little more than an hour, my right knee started aching. I remembered what my friends told me, that joints would wear out. At that time, I didn't fully understand whether they would wear out from movement or not. But I understood one thing. If my heart is calm, if there's no fear, if I feel good after running, then I'm doing everything right. So I continued, and after 6 months, the aching sensation in my knee disappeared. It completely disappeared. I keep running, and it doesn't hurt. But then my hip joint started aching. Then it passed, and the other hip joint started to ache, then the other knee, then the spine from the bottom to the top. I then realized that this was the body rejuvenating itself. The body, through this aching, is asking for energy. So when you run, you take energy from nature, and healing begins. When you stop running, you no longer take energy from nature, but the body still wants healing, so it starts to ache. It's like a child crying when being weaned off the breast. You can't run non-stop. You run, and that's enough. And gradually, all my joints healed. The person who drives me also started running, and he tells me the same thing about how his knees started to ache. And when he kept running, this aching sensation went away and never came back. Raise your hand if the same thing happened to you. Now let me tell you about the law of misfortune. We're gathered here for this after all. The law of misfortune means that if, while running, your knee starts to ache and out of fear, you stop running, then it turns into a chronic knee condition. This is why doctors say that running ruins your knees, because they get scared at that moment. It also happens from sudden movements, like if you run making sharp movements or with accelerations, or faster than you should. That wears out your body. It means you're not running for health, but for whatever reason. So what am I telling you now? I'm sharing with you the methodology of overcoming fate, the methodology of success. I'm telling you that when a person lives correctly, they must clearly understand that they should only interact with positive people. No one who diminishes them, scares them, or makes them feel like everything is bad should be part of their circle of communication. It destroys a person's opportunities. Don't listen to them. Don't pay attention. No matter who it is, it doesn't matter. Remember this formula. I listened very carefully to the doctor because he gave me a diagnosis, and he did the right thing. He explained what was happening with my retina, and that was correct. On one hand, he initially did everything right, but then it went wrong, and I didn't catch it in time. As a result, a certain force entered my heart, and I didn't know what to do with it. It felt like it crushed me, as if my life was over, as if I was doing something wrong. This is called befouling communication that destroys life. Imagine you went to your very close friend and told them you have a girlfriend, and they look at you and say, "It is not going to work out with her." If you don't pray after that, nothing will work out with her. The reason is befoulment. You've come under the influence of a force that's guiding you in the wrong direction. What does communication really mean? Communication is a way to connect with your fate. There are 3 such ways. The first way destroys a person's fate, leading them off course. This is called communication with people in degradation. People in degradation put out the light in others. They either insult them or destroy their faith. They curse you, ruin you, or they give you false knowledge that paralyzes you. All of this is degradation. What is passion? Passion means distraction. Everything's fine. Don't pay attention. Keep working. Live the way you do. Everything will be fine. This is passion. What is pure goodness? It's when someone explains what's happening and offers a solution that leads to victory over fate. That's pure goodness. Consciousness becomes clear. In other words, a person sobers up. They understand what to do, how to live. They feel light and joy in their heart. That's pure goodness. Pure goodness means being focused on victory. Communicate only with those who are focused on victory. Listen only to those songs that give you victory. Even if these songs are sung in a didactic, harsh tone, it still works. All of this is connected to victory, because ultimately you are being shown that you need to change your life for the better. You need to understand that a person should dedicate their life to communication that either sobers them up or inspires them. In other words, a person's heart or their depth and purity should be connected only to those who strive for the truth. All other people should not have a place in their heart, otherwise they will simply destroy their life, and this destruction happens imperceptibly. Because communication truly is just the thing that adjusts our heart to connect with our fate. Either this connection will lead to victory over fate or total defeat. It all depends on who you communicate with. Communication is nothing more than reprogramming our inner mood, reprogramming our way of living, our reaction to life, and our ability to achieve success and happiness in life. So, communicate with those who overcome their fate, and try not to listen to, ignore, or distance yourself from those who insult others, who hate people, who constantly complain, hate everything, insult people, and spread negativity. These people are undoubtedly destroying your life. Please, after this seminar, deeply understand this simple truth. This doesn't mean you need to avoid everyone. You just need to realize that there are two types of communication. One type, you don't pay attention to a person's words, and that means they won't affect you. Only heartfelt communication affects a person. If you truly connect with someone in your heart, that will change your fate. If you are sure that this person is changing your life for the better, give them your heart, and you will overcome your fate. If you see something else happening, just ignore it. No one is forcing you to listen to their words in your heart. No one is forcing you to feel hurt or angry with them. Don't pay attention. Not paying attention kindly means understanding that this person doesn't know the truth. For example, if a dog barks loudly, do you get upset with it? No. Why? Because it's foolish. So it has the right to bark. Likewise, understand that people can be foolish too. Don't think everyone should understand everything. Most people don't even understand how or why they live in this world, or for what purpose. Don't listen to them. Listen only to the voice of truth, to those who inspire you to live. How do you recognize that? With your heart. In the heart, there is peace, joy, life prospects, a sense that everything is good, that life is just beginning. This is what we call inspiring communication. It brings you success and good fortune. It gives you everything in all areas, including financially. In all respects, everything will be good if you are inspired, if you feel happiness, the opportunity to overcome fate. You'll want to perform healing practices, wake up early, go to bed early, wish happiness to everyone. Forgive, ask for forgiveness. This is what a person should strive for in their communication. Communication is meant for inspiration, not for falling into despair. Don't watch the news that kills that impulse inside you to live. Watch and listen only to what gives you the strength to live, and you'll see that you haven't missed anything. If, for example, something important has happened in Ukraine, then know that you'll definitely hear about it. You'll hear it from good people. They will kindly tell you, not from the mass media where everything is panic. Do you know why panic mongers were shot during the war? When someone panics, they kill them, take their life away. Do you know why? Because if the panic monger isn't shot, everyone's life will be in danger. For example, people are going into an attack, and someone starts screaming. They're ruining the army's chances of victory, so they have to be isolated. Something has to be done with them. Don't fall under the influence of befouling communication. For example, if a loved one left you and someone says you'll never get them back, it's not anyone's business whether they come back or not. Let the person bring them back, because that's the only right path. Inspire them, give them strength, because if they bring them back, they'll overcome their fate. And if they don't, they'll still overcome their fate. If they bring their loved one back, they always overcome their fate, because fate only acts in this direction. To go in this direction, a person needs a lot of strength. Fate has already hit a person on their head, scared them, has broken them, taking away their strength. Now the person must be reborn, gather strength. They need to contact those who can help them, not those who will interfere. Have we figured this all out? Let's then wish everyone happiness. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.